Always nice. Rain is always nice.
Is it raining in? Are you in Riyadh, Ahmed?
No, Kuwait.
Yeah, I'm in Riyadh this week, so it's raining here. It's windy outside and
I
raining
think
as well.
it's in Arab countries in general.
Well, raining is good. Raining is good. Here in Canada, it rains a lot in Vancouver. I think Jodeline in Vancouver, I think it's raining a lot, like 170 days a year. So here we also it rains in Ontario, but not that that heavy. Okay, so today I want to focus on stakeholder analysis. I don't think that I will cover what's in the original book. So I will ask you to read the chapter and review the presentation from the publisher. It talks about you as a project manager, and this is very important. I had a manager who told me one time, we hire people for their technical skills, and we fire them for their soft skills. And and that was actually an eye-opener, because I asked him, how come? He said, in the interview, even if we have behavioral interview, we focus more on the technical skills. Do you know how to do the job? Do you know the ins and outs of the technical part? And this is actually what we can test. But the soft skills, so are you a team player? Are you actually a team player, or are you a leader? Do you know how to work with other people? How about your work ethics? So yes, we have so many tools that we use. We have psychometric assessments. We have personality assessments. We can say, okay, this person is an introvert, this person is extrovert, but still you need to work with them to actually know, do they have the soft skills or not? And usually the soft skills that can make or break the work. You can read a book, you can hire an external consultant to do the work. It's easier to get the technical skills than to get or acquire the soft skills. So in project management, the best project managers that I worked with, they were not technically that strong, but they were good leaders, very, very effective leaders. So they can compensate for the lack of the technical skills by hiring the right talent and manage them effectively. So that's why it's important. And in I don't want to say in some countries, but in some cultures, we don't care much about this leadership, although the company might provide some training, some leadership training, some workshops, some conferences. They will send their employees to training courses. But the problem is that there is no mechanism after an employee returns from training to see if they apply what they learned or not. So it's not just attending a 3-day intensive course or leadership course, or have a big program, for example, for 1 year, and each month they attend a full day, and we send them with homework and all of this. If it doesn't show on their work, if it doesn't show on the way they manage and lead their employees, then the no actual learning happened. So before discussing what do we have here and the topics I want to cover, I want to listen to some of your experiences on working with good leaders or working with bad leaders, and your experience as a leader. So who wants to share some insights? Shall I ask you? Okay, let me see. Who do we have here? Olena, do you have an experience to share with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Excuse me?
Hello, can you hear me properly? Because maybe I have some problem with my mic. Can you hear me now?
Well, your voice is cracking, but we can manage.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Professor, for that. I heard the question about the experience in as being a leader, or to be a participant where there is a leader. Actually, yes, I have some experience because I work with groups, mostly in project groups. Sometimes I participate there as a project manager. Sometimes I'm executive team member. So the biggest insight from my latest experience is that project manager, uh, in my mind, should be aware of the project itself. Maybe can be not technically prepared, or not to be a developer itself, if you're talking about the developing the project, IT project, but he has to have the clue, not only dividing tasks and asking about the deadlines, but also to understand the basics, understand the team, uh, keywords or the methodology, and because we had experience and our project was unable to understand what we are doing actually, and we were out of our deadlines, and it's faced to that we shifted our project manager, and currently he's practicing in our executive team. So this is the biggest, I would say, insight from the last month.
Actually, this is very important because in the PMI, the Project Management Institute, they adopted a leadership style called servant leadership. So it in a nutshell, quickly, it means that you are here to serve your team. So to ask what do they need and try to provide what they need. and to see the obstacles that or impediments that hinder them from performing, and working with them on tackling these challenges or impediments, so they can work effectively. And also we talk about team loyalty. So as a leader, you should be loyal to your team, not to throw your team under the bus, as they say. So you go to the sponsor and you say, well, I have the worst team. They are stupid. They don't, they are lazy. They don't do their work. I'm trying with them. And no. You work with them, you protect them, but at the same time, you hold them accountable, and you hold yourself accountable as well. Of course, we will talk about the ideal world, and I know that many of you will have some horrible experiences with horrible bosses. I have my share of working with horrible bosses. I know that some of the people that I worked with, they might have some issues about my way of leading teams. Um, um, Recently, I was working in managing a project, and one of the team members, he came to me and he said, actually, I don't know how to communicate with you. And I said, why that? And he said, because when I sent you an email, you answer with one word: yes, no, okay. And I don't know if this is good or bad. And I said, well, I think I didn't need to say more than this. And he said, no, because I worked with a previous manager who used to send me long emails with detailed instructions. And he was asking me lots of questions, but you don't do this. So I don't want to be surprised. And my way was to delegate and let people work the problem, try to figure out what they need to figure out, and interfere when they ask for help. But for him, he was used to be micromanaged. So again, it was a mistake on my part, thinking that we are on the same page. And actually, people will like this because I like this. I like my autonomy. So let me figure things out. And if I have a problem, I will come to you. That was my personal way of doing my work. But I did not communicate. My mistake is that I did not communicate this early in the project, saying I will prefer that I will give you your autonomy, try to figure things out, try to find a solution. Don't be afraid of mistakes. We are not working in rocket, for example. There is no safety issues, for example. So the worst case scenario is that we might be late a day or two in delivering a report or something like this. So again, it's learning by doing, and it's very good learning curve that you have to go through. So today, as I said, we will focus on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. They're always saying people leave managers, not jobs.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why, yes, people they don't want only a paycheck. Some employees they look for more engagement and fulfillment in their careers. That's why they want a purpose.
Yes,
Not just
yes, I do
because
agree.
now, yeah, yes, that's why.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a different perspective because before it used to be all like a dominant managers and they just
Hmm.
cascade the orders to employees, and nowadays it doesn't work because it's more open, open world, and you can find any job anytime. That's why, so they can leave you anytime.
Well, I don't want to generalize that you can find another job that easily. Usually, people get hurt when they leave a company or a place, and there is also some grievance, so people will grieve their jobs. But there is a limit. If your teammate or your employee reach it, and they will be happy to leave, actually. Yeah. Um, so uh, let me ask you, what is the definition of a stakeholder in the context of project management? Who's a stakeholder?
Anyone who interferes in the project.
Anybody who what?
Like directly in the project, so has an input in the
Interferes.
yeah, interferes, yes.
Mm,
So supplier,
okay.
a customer, developer, anyone interferes directly, can consider him a stakeholder, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
what I mean.
Okay. So let me give you an example. If you are building a community center, for example, in a neighborhood, and I'm a resident in this neighborhood, very far from the community center. I'm not interfering in the design of the community center. I'm not interfering even at the location for the community center. Am I a stakeholder or not?
Actually, hi, Professor.
Hi, yeah.
Actually, anyone, whoever affect or is affect, is considered as a stakeholders.
Yes. Yes. Someone read the material and was ready for today's class. Yes. It's a stakeholder is any person or a group that can affect or impact or affected or impacted by the project. We even can go a step further, and there is a type of stakeholders, we call them phantom stakeholders. So you don't consider them as a stakeholder for this project, but for some reason, they consider themselves a stakeholder in your project. For example, this community center might be very close to a garden or an urban forest. And you will find some environmental activists that you didn't think about, and they are very interested in your project because it's close to an urban forest, and they consider themselves having a stake in the project, although they cannot affect or impact where the location of this project or what we do or anything like this. But they will write on the social media that the city is building this project and it will impact our forest and it will impact the animals that live in this forest, and we have to stop them, and suddenly you will find that there is a petition. So again, stakeholder management and stakeholder analysis is very, very crucial. And from experience, we don't give it enough time and enough critical thinking and scrutiny. Also very important to see the difference of stakeholder management in predictive approaches like waterfall and adaptive approaches. So let's refresh our memory about these two different approaches. So these approaches have different methodologies. For example, in adaptive approaches, you might find Scrum, Crystal, extreme programming, Agile, of course, disciplined Agile, Kanban, or a combination of these methodologies. In predictive approaches, it's plan-based. It means that we do the majority of the planning, the bulk of the planning upfront before we start the project. We go into phases. We cannot go back. That's why we have to finish the stage completely, make sure that the work planned for this stage is done according to the quality standards and the requirements. Then we can move to the next step. We use predictive approaches when there is huge concern for safety, when we are in an industry that's highly regulated, and when we produce something tangible. Because when we produce something tangible, we cannot go back and forth because the cost will be so high. We use predictive approaches in knowledge industries, for example, in software development, in publishing, for example. We are producing something knowledge. We are not producing something tangible that you can hold in your hands. Also, you can go back and forth. So, for example, you are writing a code for a specific functionality. You can still change the code. But if you are building, for example, a road, and you started with the first step, to go back, it means that you have to destroy what you built. So stakeholder management in adaptive approaches might be different. The type of stakeholders might be the customer or the user who will use the software, many internal stakeholders in the company, many entities, teams and sub-teams. But in predictive approaches, you need to do a thorough stakeholder planning and to understand the stakeholders. So why this is not, what's wrong with this? These are not empty. Okay, I don't know why it didn't show this. So, so it's again, a stakeholder is an individual or a group or an organization that can affect or be affected by your project. Stakeholders could be internal or external. Stakeholders, they can have positive or negative influence on your project. There is a little history of the term, how this term was originated, and I will share these presentations with you on Moodle. But here is in a snapshot. Stakeholders could be related to a company, or a department, or a project, or even a task. I did stakeholder analysis on the personal level because I had a workshop, a training course on personal strategic planning. So I was asking the attendees to do a stakeholder analysis. Who have a stake in your life? And it was very interesting, you know, an eye-opener when you think all the people who are affected by your existence and affecting your existence or your life. So it could be employees, managers, owners, other departments, external stakeholders like your suppliers. Your suppliers are stakeholders, and you need to think of the relationship with your suppliers, your customers, shareholders of the company, creditors, government, and we will talk more about types and examples of stakeholders. I also talked about what we call the phantom stakeholders. So in your initial analysis, you did not think about those entities, but they perceive themselves to be a stakeholder. So if you recognize these phantom stakeholders, you have to include them in your analysis. Because again, if I feel that I am affected or impacted by your project, I might influence your project in a way or another. Think of a journalist that you didn't think that they will be interested in your project, but now they are, and they will write a piece in the newspaper about your project, for example. All projects are about change. Even if you are producing something novel or new, it's about change, and change always includes people. So as a project manager, and this is also very similar to the PMI talent triangle, you need to have different types of skills. The technical skills in the field and in the project management, the business acumen to understand the big picture of the business. If you think small, you will stay small all your life because you cannot see the big picture, how my work, how my position, how my project will impact the whole company, the whole business. That's why I want you to think of the supply chain management and how, when we analyzed the components of the supply chain, and we had like this bird view, we discovered the network of activities, tasks, entities. All of these work together to support your business. And also people skills, or sometimes they call it the sixth sense skills. I have some reservations about these terminologies because sixth sense skills usually refer to intuition. Many people, they are not so high on intuition, but again, we can still have some people skill. So you need to balance these, your technical skills, your business acumen, and your people skill. So of course, there are so many models and so many tools done by companies or scholars or project managers on how they can manage stakeholders. So one common or some of the common aspects of this process or these models, there is a step regarding identifying who are these stakeholders. You need to know them. You need to write them down. And actually, I ask you to do this for your group project. Write a list of the stakeholders, whether are people or organizations or entities. You need some way to analyze these stakeholders, so you need to understand them more. You need a way to assess their impact on your project. Again, you will find that I included here some mismatch of ideas and tools that we use, some models. I will ask you to do it in a much simpler way. In some projects, especially if it is a strategic project or expensive project or a project that can impact the safety of other people, you might use more sophisticated tools. But again, we start with identifying who are the stakeholders, to define their concerns and issues, also their commitment to the project, or in some cases, their resistance to the project. As a consultant, I worked with so many organizations, and I can sense who is supporting this consulting project, this change, and who is resisting. You need also to build a communication strategy or a communication management plan so you can benefit from this analysis. How can I keep them informed? How can I keep them engaged? Who needs to know what? Who needs to have some action? So we create a communication plan. What are the tools I am using in the communication? I don't know if I shared this with you. Before working with Windsor University, I hated WhatsApp. I had WhatsApp. I deleted from my my cell phone because I was added to so many groups. Some of them are family groups, some are friends group. I hate these pre-packaged messages. You know, every Friday you get a message saying Happy Friday or Blessed Friday or something like that. I hate this. So when I joined Windsor, the WhatsApp is one main communication channel between instructors, the professors, the administration, the students. So I resisted in the beginning because I'm not used to use WhatsApp. I disable all the notifications on my cell phone because I don't want to go crazy. But I had to use it. So this is a communication channel. So in your analysis, what's the best way to reach this stakeholder? Some governmental entities, for example, they are still using fax. I don't have a fax machine. The last time I had a fax machine, it was like 2007. And after that, I had a software to send fax. But I had to have this because some governmental agencies, they still use fax. How you will engage them? What are your strategies and techniques to engage them? Also, you need to keep assessing them, because you might identify a stakeholder or a stakeholder group in the beginning as low interest. But after certain incidents, they become so interested in your project. Now their status has changed. So how we can assess stakeholders? So there are different models, as I said. The easiest is power interest. What's their power? And what's their interest, level of interest in your project? Or sometimes the power influence. So I have the power, and I have different levels of influence, or influence and impact, or actually 3 dimensions, or we call it the salient model. Their authority, their level of sense of urgency for this project, and their legitimate power. Some people have power without authority. So, for example, they have no sign approval authority, but they have power over your project. So, as I said, there are different ways that you can assess this. And of course, the interaction between these dimensions will help you to classify stakeholders. For example, some of them we will classify as dangerous. They have a sense of urgency and they have power over your project. Some stakeholders will be dominant. They have the power, they have the legitimacy over your project. So based on these dimensions, we create a matrix, and we use these matrix or matrices to make it easier for us as project managers to think of appropriate strategies. So this is one matrix. It depends on the interest in the project and their influence or power over your project. So if they are not very interested in your project and they don't have the influence or the power, just to monitor them. So for example, from now and then, you can see, are they still not interested in your project or not? Are they still don't have much power over the project or not? So you just monitor them. Some of them, they might not be interested in the project, but they have high influence or high powers. Think of a senior executive in your in your company. They might not be interested in this particular project. It's one of so many projects in the company, but they have the influence and the power. So you keep them satisfied. You understand what are their goals, and you try to satisfy these goals. Some might be very interested in your project, but they don't have the influence or the power. So you keep them informed. That's why we have for your information. Or the residents in the city, for example, so we issue a press release in the local newspaper telling them what we are doing, for example. Those who have high interest in your project and at the same time they have high influence or high power, you need to engage them in your project and consult them. So these are some of the strategies that we use. So any question about what we said? Yes, someone sent something. Stakeholders are entities with a vested interest or concern in the activities or the outcome of particular project or organization. Yes, this is the a very good definition. Yes. So what in the project we have so much information that we are producing. Some are formal, some are informal. Also, we have so much communication channels. Again, some formal and some less formal. So what these are samples of some of the documents as a project manager that you will produce. Again, this is from the predictive approach. In the adaptive approach, you might find you have something called the product backlog or a features list, for example. Or Kanban. So I have showed you Kanban before. Oh. I like to use Kanban. There is a software called the Trello that will help you to do Kanban easily. So in a nutshell, Kanban board has different lists. So this is the backlog, everything that we want to do, all the tasks and doing or work in progress. So these are the tasks that we are currently working on. Review. So these are the tasks that we are reviewing or checking. So they are not done completely. That's why in adaptive approaches we have something called done. So it's the definition of done, actually done. And once they move, so they go to the done pile. We done this. So it's a visual way to see all the tasks that we do, what we are working on right now, what's in the review, and what we finished, for example. So this is a communication channel. Because we have this board either as a software and everyone has access to it, or in some cases we have it on the wall and we use post-it notes and we move it, and we do this if the team is in the same place. So if I'm a team member and I can come to the office, see the Kanban board and see exactly what we are working on and what we finished and what's still remaining. There are other tools, for example, like burn up or burn down charts. So how many features that we finished, how many features are remaining. In predictive approaches, of course, you will have the project charter. You will have an official communication management plan as part of your project management plan. You will have a register of the project stakeholders. Who are they? Are they entities? Are they groups? for this group, if they're a representative, if it is a client company, who you are communicating in and how, what are the communication details, their emails, their phone numbers, and so on. Also could be part of your project formal documents, the organizational strategic plan, because your project is part of a portfolio, and the portfolio is related to an organizational a strategic objective. Of course, the project management plan, which includes different plans inside, and the anything related to the schedule. Could be your Gantt chart, your project timeline, your project calendar. So these are some of the formal documents that you need to understand who has the right to see these documents, have access to these documents, and have the authority or the right to even change or authorize these documents. Also, you need to think of the different communication channels that you have. What are the channels that are verbal? What are the channels that are non-verbal, like body language, for example? We still have, I think, yes. What are the written communication channels you have? Some are visual, and some are kinetic, or they require some action. And we will talk about these also. Also, you need to think of stakeholder engagements. So who do I need to engage? Who do I need to consult? Who do I need to inform? Who do I need to get approval from? And how I will engage them. And you need to understand this, because sometime in some situations, you will need to build consensus. So you are proposing something, or you are assigning some work, and you need your team members to agree. So you need to build consensus, or you need to influence. So, for example, you made some error in some calculations, and now you need some more extra money, or you might need some access to a specific reserve of funds. So you need to go to your sponsor to get extra money or extra time, or you need to change something in the scope. You need to negotiate, thinking of your suppliers, for example. You need to build trust. There will be some conflicts, so you need the skill to resolve conflicts. And also you need to work on your active listening. And I'm speaking out loud to tell myself, because I have a struggle with active listening, really listening to people, because my mind, because I'm extrovert, I think out loud. So, and active listening is a skill. Really, when you are listening to someone, you are thinking of what they are saying. You are not thinking of what will be my reply. Or, okay, I will listen to you, but at the end, I will do what I have decided, for example. So these are some skills that you need to engage and manage your stakeholders. So the sponsor usually is the most important stakeholder. So you need to engage them. You need to assess them. You need to understand their goals and objectives. And you need to learn what are the preferred styles of communication. Some some sponsors might require one-on-one meetings or a phone call or regular updates. Most of the stakeholders, they need to know if you anticipate problems in the future. So I need to know upfront, or I need to know in advance. Are we facing some hiccups in this project? You need to engage them and consult them and understand if they have a different perspective. Because you need to get their sponsorship and their support. I'm not asking you to. Okay, so quickly in the coming few minutes, I want you to think about this. What will you do if you encounter two stakeholders with different opinions? How will you resolve or solve their conflict? And what is the most important thing to remember while managing these stakeholders? I'm not going to ask you to do the stakeholder grid. So let me divide you into groups, and I will give you a few minutes to think of these. I will share this slide again for you, but these are the two main questions. Okay, let's have 4. Okay, yes, and I will give you I'll give you 8 minutes. And let me share again this slide. So I want you to think of a hypothetical situation when you have two different stakeholders have a conflict, how you will manage them, and what are the most important things to remember while managing these stakeholders. Okay? Okay, welcome back. And don't complain that you didn't have enough time. Welcome back. Welcome back.
That was so quick.
Yes, I know. I know. Yes. So, how was the result of your discussion? What will you do with these two people with conflicting ideas? Yes, Muhammad Abu Laila?
Yes, our group can Ashraf and Ahmed. First of all, we have two scenarios. First of all, if we have different grades, one is high influence and high impact or involvement, and the other is in lower category. So we will take mainly discuss the higher one, the important one, and see his opinion, even it's against the project or have another opinion, we discuss with him his opinion, and we set the priorities according to the project objectives and goals. This is the first scenario. Okay, and the other one, we handle him by letting him what to know. This is the first scenario. The second scenario, if the same have the same influence and the same power and the same impact. Okay, so we will take each opinion and we set the pros and cons in each opinion, and we agreed on certain prioritization or scoring for the pros and cons. When we agreed on some points, we take it aside and then we discuss the priority of each point from their opinion, and we try to reach a common ground with both three of us based on the objective and the goals and time frame of the project.
Okay, so the other groups, did you have a different approach? Do you like this approach by this group?
Can I add something from our side?
Yes, please do.
So I think, first of all, we need to understand the type of conflict, because if it's, for example, personal conflicts, we are not going to solve it. So if it's a conflict related to the project, then we need to organize some like a meeting to understand the point of the problem. And maybe it's very nice to have some kind of policy how to resolve different type of conflicts among the project during the project. So it will help us in the future when we meet with this kind of problems to resolve this. And after, for instance, if it's the same category of stakeholders, then we need to, I agree with this, to find some criteria and to score it in order to make some decision. But anyway, we need to have some guidelines, maybe how to resolve these issues. What I want to add.
Yes, we have a raised hand. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I agree with this approach. First of all, it's first step at listening to both sides, identify common goals, find common ground, and encourage collaboration and provide constructive feedback. I agree with approach Lizat and Muhammad.
Okay, so the other groups, we have other two groups. Yes, Olena, yes.
Yes, the group number 3, as the Muhammad said, and we discuss about these issues and possible conflicts. We agree mostly on that we have to listen to both parties to understand the initial conflict. If it's according to the project, we have to understand the alignments to the major objectives of the project, and also to identify what it will be better for the project itself. If it's and to understand how to manage it with this with the total group. So we fully agree with group number 1.
Okay, the last group. Yes.
Okay, Mohammed, can you do it?
Yeah, sorry, I had some issues rejoining the meeting, so I didn't catch the meeting from the beginning. But what we agreed on, we like identified the conflict. So stakeholder conflicts. It happens when the individuals or groups with different interests, goals, or values are involved in a project, organization, or decision-making process. So 10 different so some strategies to deal with the conflict, and we identified like 10 different points. Number one, identification and understanding of like each stakeholder, and understand their interests and concerns and their expectations. Number two, we need to have open communication to establish a communication channel where stakeholders feel heard and can help them to prevent their concerns. We need to agree on conflict resolution techniques. We need to clarify responsibilities and roles.
Yes.
We need to understand the process to prioritize and compromise when there is like a conflict, where to approach like or reach a middle point and compromise some of the like different interests of the stakeholders. We need also to set an escalation process when we cannot stop the conflict, where to go or to escalate to find like a higher authority to stop the conflict. We need to agree on mediation or facilitation process. When there is like a bigger conflict we cannot deal with. And I think last thing, we need to have a written or documented agreements, so it will be easier for us to go back and find the original agreements we had.
Well,
I think,
perfect. Can you share these steps with the group on WhatsApp?
yeah, I will.
Yes. Well, quickly, what I noticed, the first group, you started with a little bit bias. So you decided that you will support the higher authority. So if you are in the middle of mediating a conflict, you need to make sure that you are not biased. However, I like that you started by assessing and analyzing the stakeholders in terms of influence and interest and maybe other dimensions, their authority, and all of this. But as a project manager, remember, you are doing what is best for your project. So maybe the one with the higher authority have a wrong view. So again, don't start with bias. Try to be objective to assess the merits of the different viewpoints. Also, another group mentioned if it is a personal conflict. And this is very good because in conflicts, of course, conflict resolution and conflict management, it's a whole discipline. But in a nutshell, we have functional conflicts and we have dysfunctional conflicts. Dysfunctional conflicts, these are conflicts that has a ground in personal disagreements, someone who doesn't like someone, two people with some ugly history in your teammates. So if it is related to something personal, it becomes a dysfunctional conflict. And in many cases, you need to remove one party from the group or the project, or at least have some very, very strict rules on how they will deal with each other forward. Functional conflict, actually, this is not bad. It means that we have different point of view, but we don't have any personal grievances against each other. We are ready to listen. We are ready to compromise if we need to compromise, or one entity is ready to accept the other opinion because the other opinion is the best. So again, that's why your analysis, your thinking, your reflection on the different stakeholders that you have is very, very important and crucial, because at the end of the day, you are managing people. Okay? So, any question? Yes, Wellington?
Yes, thank you, Professor. Yeah, you rightly differentiate between the two group, and that one coming from the perspective of a little bit being biased, and also and this other group when you talked about if it is unfunctional or it's a personal conflict. Please, I want you to throw a little or advise me on the best option to choose. I had an issue sometime in an organization where the boss have a different opinion from the project manager, and I was to the project side as the project finance staff. And while there, I observed that the QS, the quantity surveyor, contracted a project to a client to supply iron rod, and the project was done about a month before I resumed on site. And I observed that on my resumption, the client came for his payment. He has supplied the items, and he came for payment. And somebody came somewhere and gave a wrong report. He went to the market after 2 months interval and came up with a different price variation, and that the item that the client supplied supposed to be lower, not knowing the fact that it was using a lower scale.
Grade.
Yes,
Lower grade. Yeah.
lower grade. Yes, the item has a higher grade and a lower grade. So the person went to the market and they showed her the lower grade with a lower price. So she came back and informed the management that, look, this item ought to be, for instance, 1,000, and the project is the client is requesting for 1,500 now, and the management were angry about it. That no. So I was asked, just like the question today, I was asked to go and mediate within these two opinions. Now, the leadership wouldn't want to listen to decide. They have taken an opinion that, look, we must slash the price and pay them lower. And the client said no, that this project has already been signed, that they cannot accept that. And there was a great conflict in the organization. So much that even at a point when I investigate and I discover that the auditor that brought this latest information was wrong. She did not carry out due diligence. She did not consider the size of the product. And as at the time when this project agreement was reached, contract was signed. And it was a big conflict for me to handle. And at a point, the leadership were like, oh, Wellington, your body language shows that you're supporting the client. So I, it was a little bit difficult. So I want to ask, in this scenario, though, what really happened when the client finally came up making issues, shouting in the office and all that, then the leadership said, okay, I should go back and bargain with them. I went there just to fulfill, because it's my employer. So I went there and played with them. Please, they should not be angry. You have to slash down the price. Let it be that there's a little reduction in price. And at the end of the day, they weren't happy, but they have no choice, because it's not, that project is a personal project and it's not a regulated project. So they accepted the offer, but grudgingly not being happy over it. So
Yes.
I want you to look into this project. Should I have gone there and said, okay, leadership should insist on paying down on these people? Now, I couldn't say anything. I was silent all this while, and leadership was able to read out my motives and my reactions, and they felt that I am supporting the other person. And I feel that morally and otherwise, it's not right. The project has been signed, and other people have received theirs, and this person came and they refused to pay him. And even if the price is even higher, for the fact that it was already agreed by the QS, the management staff of the project, and I think the leadership should have said, okay, go ahead and pay. So I don't know how you would have loved to see that if my perception that this client has already submitted his bill of quantity and it has been approved and signed, supplied, made after some time. Or I should have gone with the leadership rule to say, okay, the client, they have to. And even at that, even when I kept quiet, the client was coming to make problem.
Yeah.
So
I see two parts here. I think this is a construction project, so maybe some of the attendees here also can help in this. But I see some legal aspect and some technical aspect. So if I will approach this, I might prepare a presentation. I will refer to the legal contracts and the obligations. And of course, in the contract, there are some clause about mediation, maybe hiring an external consultant or an expert. And in construction, we have a lot of these. Mediation, and also collecting all the technical information. So you said that they used a different grade, a higher grade, and of course a higher grade means a higher prices. And so maybe you need to show the management that actually the client, that contractor or subcontractor used higher grade material or done the work using different ways, and these ways are higher. So you build a case like a good lawyer. So the legal aspect and the technical aspect, and you don't show that, because at the end of the day you are representing the company. So you show the senior managers that you are loyal to the company, and actually because you are loyal to the company, you are afraid of the legal consequences that the subcontractor might do. So that's my opinion, that you prepare a report or a presentation and you tackle the legal aspect and the technical aspect, and you show that the best course of action is actually to fulfill our legal obligation because we have a contract with this subcontractor. So those of you who work in construction or similar industry, what do you think about this?
Well, your response is quite clear. Just that the people also considering the fact that the owner of the project is a pastor, and that being that he's a pastor, he owns a church also, and that the people, the client, the vendors actually know them, the contractors, and they were between opinion if they should go out there and involve the legal to take the case to court, or they should go back to the office and cause violence. So, but people were like, okay, this is the owner of that project has a church, so go there and let them know. But to us, to me, just like as you said, ethically, and morally, I felt that those people actually are not wrong. But just like as you also said, I have to remember the fact that the owner of the project is my employer. So I don't want to be too prompt so that he will now feel that I am not obeying his rule. So
Yeah,
I
that's
accept.
why you try to be objective, and the
Yes.
shortest way to be objective is to focus on the technical aspect and the legal aspect. So technically, you can show them the specification of the materials or the work, and legally, you can refer to the specific clauses that show your legal obligation about this, without talking too much about the moral aspect, because you still have moral obligation to your employer or the sponsor of the project. So for me to show that you are not biased is to focus on the technical route. Yes, Muhammad, you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to wait till you finish this point, Professor,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be proactive and prevent the conflict from happening. That's why I will ask for a break, if you don't mind.
A break what?
Yeah, I would ask for a break if you don't mind. So we
Oh,
don't
yes,
want to
yeah, we will have a break. Yes, we will have a break. Okay, so let's have a 10 minutes break, and we will come at what time? Um, 11:34. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll see you in 10 minutes. Welcome back. Welcome. So quickly, of course, I'm not going to talk about everything in detail. That was a full course, actually, on stakeholder management. So let's go quickly. We talked about the different communication channels: in person, on phone, online, non-verbal, like the facial expression, the body language, the gestures. So you need to learn how to control your non-verbal messages. Again, it will need some support, some training, maybe asking people to give you some feedback about how you do your nonverbals. Written, and the good news is that we have so many AI powered tools that can help us write concisely, but you need to learn how to give these tools the right prompt, so they will actually write what you need. I use Grammarly, for example, for many years right now, and I have the professional account, the paid account, because um, as a second language, English as a second language for me, I might, do some mistakes. And actually, some people with their English as a first language, they still also do some mistakes. This is part I want to highlight here: the visuals of the communication, using charts, using tables, using graphs, using images. Don't underestimate the power of visuals, especially when you are working with senior management. Senior management, they might not have enough time to read every word, but if they can see, for example, here, like a pie chart, you know, I can easily interpret so much from a chart or a graph. Okay, so use visuals. Sometimes you will use some kinetics. For example, you will have a workshop for your team, or maybe you will use some simulations. And right now, project management tools, again, AI powered, they will enable you to do some simulation. So if we change this ratio, if we change this condition, how this will impact our project. So this is very good. So you can use it. My advice is to use different types of communication to convey the same message. Why? Because some people are visual learners, some people are kinetic learners, some people are audio learners. So when you have different communication channels, you are to convey the same message, you are 100% sure that the message will reach the people that you want it to reach. So for example, I will send an email, I will have a phone call, and I will send some attachment with the email, for example. So if the stakeholder is visual, they can read the report. If they are audio, they will listen to the phone call or they will attend the presentation. So again, tackling the same message through different communication channels. Okay, this is important because we conduct lots of presentations. So understanding the basics of how to conduct an effective presentation is very, very important. If you are in an interview, you are presenting, for example. If you are in a meeting, even if you don't have a PowerPoint presentation, you're still presenting, you know? So your presentation might be informative. You are conveying just the information, telling them a status report, for example, or persuasive. You want to get their buy-in, their approval, or entertaining, you know, sharing some good news or something like this, or inspirational. You want them to be inspired and do some act. So think of your message and the best style to convey it. So and this is under defining the purpose. What is the purpose of this meeting? What is the purpose of this presentation? What is the purpose of this phone call? Also know your audience. Again, think of your audience. If there are some logistics, like the tools that we will use, the time of the presentation, sending invitations, even if it is a phone call, I send a Google Calendar invitation, so people will have this call scheduled in their Google Calendar, for example. Start with the objectives of the presentation. And how you will structure your presentation and how will you write it. For informative presentations, you need to give information. Make sure that you are presenting your information in a way that your audience will understand and absorb. Ask some questions to make sure that they really get your message. In persuasive, this is some sort of negotiation. So you need to have some effort to influence them, understand them. The more you understand your audience, the more you will understand how you will structure your argument, how you will build your case. And of course, have some confidence when you are presenting your idea. If it is entertaining, it's light-hearted, it's more fun, it's casual, maybe a catching, so you will have like a team meeting or something. So how can I make it light? If it is inspirational, think of the feelings, the emotions, the values they believe in, and focus on this. We talked about the steps, so defining the purpose, knowing your audience. So this is big, you know. So we assume we know our audience, but think critically, how much do I know about my audience? What are their preferred way of communication? What's their agendas and hidden agendas? And also, when I teach in person, I have an exercise that's really nice. I have a group of attendees, and I give them hidden agendas, certain goals that they don't reveal, but they act upon. And I will ask them to do a task. For example, pass a ball, or pass an item from a point to another point, and you will see the the participants, when they have hidden goals, how they act. So one of them, for example, will hinder the progress because their hidden agenda is actually replace this idea with another idea. So once the team is making a little bit progress, that participant will take the ball and introduce another ball in a different color, or someone has some personal issue with the person holding the ball, and they will try to take the ball from their hands or something like this. So understand their audience. Understand who will be attending and who should be attending this presentation or this meeting. I hate when I'm sent an invitation that my attendance is optional. That's why I don't accept any meeting when my attendance is optional, you know. And I never send an invitation to anyone saying that their attendance is optional. Only the right people should attend. What's their knowledge, what's their interests in what we are doing, and also what their attitude. How do they feel about it? How about their interest in this topic? Also, the level of trustworthiness or credibility of you. So you might need to build your credibility a little bit in the beginning, gain their trust, and then work on your presentation. And of course, you prepare material. Here also, I will think of what is the possible or the right call to action. So at the end of our discussion, do I want you to take a certain action? Are you capable of doing this action, or you don't have the authority of this, for example? I'm not going to talk about the logistics, the all of this. It's not part of your class here, but some good way, make your presentation as clear as possible. Of course, in my classes, I sometimes include lots of text because I know so many students actually study from the presentation. They don't study from the material. So my presentations are treated as reference more than as a presentation. So if I'm presenting to a group or a workshop, my presentations are totally different. Avoid background arts. Of course, the font, it should be readable from a lot. So the farthest person should be able to read what you want them to read. Use graphs. Graphs are very good and my go-to way. And also have the graphs clear, very obvious. Of course, check your presentation for spelling and grammar. Check and recheck and recheck. This point is very, very important. I still practice my presentations. I still record myself. I still write full script for myself, especially if I'm talking about a topic that's new to me or this is my first time to talk about it. So I write a script, a full script, what I will say in each presentation, and I practice it. And after a while, you don't need to go to your script. But again, writing a script is very, very helpful. I don't know why my sometimes we are afraid of public speaking, and yes, this is a legitimate right, but the only way to overcome this is practicing and know your material. And practice and practice and practice. I don't know if you have this in your city. I know that, for example, in Kuwait, there are Toastmaster clubs. I'm not sure in the Saudi Arabia if you have a Toastmaster club or not. I know in the Western world, we have lots of Toastmaster clubs. So these clubs are actually voluntary clubs. People come together and they speak about a topic in a very short time, so they can practice in a safe place. So any question about this? Any question? I know that I'm moving quickly, but again, because there are lots of things that I want to cover. So this now we will go back to the stakeholders, okay? Because I want to focus more about stakeholder analysis, because it's part also of your work. Because based on the project analysis that you will do, the stakeholder analysis, you will design a communication plan. Yes, so the Toastmaster, they exist in Riyadh. Also, some clubs are online clubs, so you can join them online. So I really advise you, if you have this stage fright or you don't have enough opportunities at work to present, to join one of these clubs. Okay, so we need to think of stakeholder management, because you will design your communication plan, and it's part of your project plan. So again, stakeholders, they are anyone or any group or any entity or any organization involved in your project or will be affected by your project or the project activities. So, for example, neighbors to a building might not be involved in your project, but they will be affected by your project activity. Maybe noise, maybe parking, something like this. So you need to think of who are my stakeholders. Could be partners, shareholders, if your company part of a chamber of commerce, your suppliers, your subcontractors, even your competitors. Sometimes we think of competitors, you know, of course, your customers, the users for the product. Some industries you will be involved with the government or regulation bodies, your employees, your team members, trade unions if you are unionized, sometimes the wider general public, some interest groups who have some interest in your project, the media. Again, it depends on the size of the project and the sponsors. Again, I emphasize on understanding the agenda of your stakeholder or stakeholders. What are their spoken objectives and what are their hidden objectives? Some stakeholders are more important than other stakeholders, but you have to do this analysis for everyone. So you will have the project client or the customer, your team members, your sponsor, the top management, the functional managers in your company, other project managers working on in your company, or the project management office, maybe some subject matter experts that you will hire. So again, you think of the stakeholders and you write down these stakeholders, and of course you are at the center of this circle. So you will be managing relationships upward with those who are above you, like the sponsor, the top management, a steering committee or committees for your project. Downward, so these are the team members or subordinates. Sideward, so these are at the same level, maybe functional managers, department managers, and outwards. So those are entities that are outside of your organization, like suppliers and governmental bodies. Of course, there are politics, and you have to prepare yourself that some politics will happen. And you have to think of how shall I deal with these politics. And from experience, transparency is key. To be direct, but with tact. And again, it's a learning curve, and you will gain this from experience. But your goal here is to minimize internal politics as much as you can, so it will not impact the real work that you are doing. Of course, your relationship with the sponsor is very, very important. So that's why we call it a partnership, your sponsor. And again, the word sponsor might mean different entities. It depends on the industry. So think of the sponsor as the link between your project and your executive management. So you need to understand their personality, the preferred way to handle things, their experience, consult them, build a strategic relationship with them. Sometimes you need to deal with steering committees because decisions are made through committees, not people. So you need again to understand who is involved in this committee, what's the purpose of this committee, how can I present the information the right way, how can I convince them. So we talked about the different steps that we do. Here I want to emphasize that your assessment for a stakeholder might change, especially for long-term projects. A stakeholder you identified as low interest but high influence might become high interest in your project after a few months, for example. So you need to reprioritize your assessment. Okay. Check for changes, as I said. Yeah, here is a way that we assess this. So this is a tool, a nice tool, and actually I like this tool. It has 3 dimensions. It has power, attitude, and interest. And it has some nice names for the different entities. I think we have a different yeah. So the first dimension is power. So it refers to the power to influence the project, and either plus or minus. So if we use plus or high power, so this person is influential, or low, it means that this person is insignificant, or their power is insignificant. So for example, it can include the ability to provide or restrict resources that you need to your project, ability to make major decisions in your project, or influence others, you know, who will take the decision regarding resources or decisions. There are certain sources of this power. It could be formal authority because of their job title or their credibility. They are with the company for many years and the top management listen to them because they are credible, or their expertise in a certain field. Okay, so we if someone with this, we will consider them high power entity. Their interest, this is the second dimension. So how involved they are in the project, and they are active or passive. So if they have high interest, they are active. If they have low interest, they are passive. So again, their interest might have different sources, like value or benefits of the project for them. They could be individuals, they could be representative of a business unit or a client or entity or an organization. And those with high interest, they are willing to devote time or energy or attention to your project. Okay. Their attitude, either they are supportive to the project or resistant or opposing your project. So again, it's about how they view the project, or sometimes they might have some personal benefits. So they can have this attitude based on their views about the potential personal benefits of the project. And again, they can be individual, they can be representative of a business unit or a client or an entity. It may also be colored by their opinion of the project manager themselves. So they might have resistance to your project because of you or the sponsor or someone associated. So it could have a personal background, let's say this. This is a summary, and you will find that the author actually used interesting titles here. The Savior, the Friend, the Sleeping Giant, the Acquaintance, the Saboteur, it's coming from sabotage, the Irritant, someone who will irritate you, the Time Bomb, and the Tripwire. Okay, so the Savior, as you can see, all plus. They have a positive attitude towards the project, positive power or high power and high interest. So they are powerful with a high interest level and a positive attitude. So what's the best strategy to deal with this person? It is important to pay attention to them, get their support, and always do what's needed to keep their support. A friend, they have a positive attitude for your project. They have high interest in the project, but they are not powerful enough. So these are good people, you know, because they can influence other people who have the power. So again, have their support. So have someone to talk favorably about your project and you, even if they don't have the power, because they might convince someone else. Sleeping giant, they have positive attitude, they have positive power, high power, but they are not interested in your project, like a senior management, you know. They have so many projects, but this particular project I'm not interested in. So you need to awaken them. That's why they are sleeping giants. They are giant because of the high attitude and high power, but sleeping because they don't have interest. So you maybe need to have a presentation so you can get their interest in your project and get their positive input. Acquaintance, they have good attitude towards the project. They accept the project, but again, they have low power and low interest. So keep them informed, because you don't want to move them to something negative, you know. So keep them informed, but you don't need to put them as high priority unless there's some change will happen. They will gain more power. For example, they are promoted to a higher position, for example, or suddenly they became interested in your project. So now you need to monitor them. Saboteur, they have negative attitude about your project. They don't like your project, or maybe they don't like you, but they have high power and high interest. So this is very, very important and crucial. You need to be engaged with them, because you know that they have this power over your project and they can sabotage your results. And you want to make sure that that you keep them at bay, so they don't use their power to affect or impact your project. Of course, you can play a little bit with their attitude, so you can make them supportive. So again, it depends on your experience handling this person, and seeing how you can change their attitude. So be careful, okay? Some irritants, they are very interested in your project. They have no power. They have negative attitude. So it's like, you know, they will keep irritating you, asking you questions, maybe spreading rumors about you, or something like this. So again, you need to contain them and to what we say in electricity, to ground them, so they don't impact your project negatively. The time bomb, right now they are not interested in your project, but they have negative attitude, they are resistant to the project, and they have power. But right now, because of their low interest in your project, they are not acting upon their power. So that's why it's a ticking bomb. There might be some incident that will switch their interest from negative to positive, and they might act on the using the power they have. So you need to understand them, and you need to diffuse them, and be careful, because we don't want to turn them on so they explode. The tripwire, so they are negative in all, but it's very important to see that they have negative attitude about your project. So they might hinder your project, even if they don't have a huge power, but because they have negative attitude, again, they might say or do something that can hurt your project in a way or another, even if they have low power and low interest. And remember that any one of these types could become another type. For example, the friend could be a savior if they gain power throughout the project. As I said, someone in the middle management, for example, and they get promoted to top management. Also, the tripwire might become a time bomb. Maybe they will get some platform that gives them some power, and they sabotage you. This is one of the most models that I personally like. I'm not going to ask you to do all this analysis because this is too much. I will ask you just to do the simple one, the interest and the impact. I will post this for your information because it's very, very valuable. So based on your analysis, you will create this stakeholder register, okay? And this is a requirement in your group assignment. So you will have the stakeholder, you will give them a special code or number, their title, their location, their business address, phone, their email, and maybe you will have some analysis here about the category, their power, their interest, their influence, their impact, their knowledge. Again, you might add other dimensions based on your industry. Also, their priority. Maybe you have some grouping related to their role in their project, in your project. Maybe they are interested in specific activity. For example, the legal department, they are part of your stakeholder groups. However, they might not be interested in all the activities in your project. But when there comes an activity that has legal consequence or related to a contract, they might be interested. And of course, if there are a solid assessment of their support or attitude. Okay, you can also add whatever information here to this one. Why this is not showing? Yes, it's showing now. Okay, so this is the one that I will ask you to use because it's simple. Are they important? Are they supportive to your project? So if they are low importance, low in supportive, they are risky because they are not supportive, but maybe they are not that important. So maybe they can turn into something important. So you need to keep an eye on them. Critical, again, they are not supportive, but they have high importance in your project. So they are critical. The ideal is the highly supportive, high importance. So they are supportive, they are important. So you need also to engage them closely. Low importance, but highly supportive, they are desirable. Again, because maybe their low importance impact other people who are important. And based on this, you will have your strategies. There are lots of information actually, but this is actually what I want to just for you to focus on. How important they are. Their importance might come from their power, and influence. Their power will come from their position, their authority, and also their interest or support. Sorry, support for your project. Are they supporting your project or they are resisting your project? Okay. So any question? I know that we covered a lot, but any question? Okay, so quickly, I want to share this case study. And actually, this case study I used in different publications, and I even used it in a publication that I worked with the Project Management Institute, but without mentioning names or anything. So so here I used the city of Kitchener. It's not, it's a fictitious. So maybe we can eliminate this, but it's a project. It's a wind turbine project, and they will build this wind turbine in a remote or a rural area. So the power will be generated from this project, will power communities, businesses, schools, clinics, single households, farms, and a variety of equipment. And the small wind turbine can be developed to meet the specifications suitable for the domestic and also international markets, so they can sell some of the energy they can produce. So some examples of the stakeholders in this case: the city itself, the Department of Energy, and here in Canada it's a federal, I think it's a federal government, community members, community organizations, environmental sustainability activists, because this is actually, sometimes they will say, no, we are opposing the wind turbine because they will hurt the birds, the local birds or the immigrant birds in this area. Although it's a sustainability related project, but you might find some groups who don't want this. For example, farms owners. Some farm owners will approve the project. Some will say, no, it's very close to my farmland and I don't want this in this location, for example. Journalists, suppliers, subcontractors. So you can assess these stakeholders, and you can use this template. Here, the register, where is it? I can't find it. Where is the stakeholder register? Yes, here, this one. And you can list all these stakeholders. If they are a group, who is the representative to this group? If they are agencies, like governmental agencies, again, if I have some communication, whom to address this communication to. Some information, and then I will assess their power, their interest, their influence, their knowledge, their priority, their role in the project, and I will create a communication plan based on my assessment to understand the best way to communicate with these people or these stakeholders. So any question of the thing that we covered? Any question? So do you know now what you will do in your project? Because it's part of the outputs. You will create a stakeholder register, so you need to do the analysis. Please, I know that you will produce some work. Keep everything in your report. So if you do this analysis, for example, and you will use a matrix or the grid, keep this in your report. Even if your report will be like 50 pages, I don't care. If you do any work, keep it, because some group asked me if they include everything. Yes, please do. If it is work, include it, okay? You can include it as appendices. That's why we have the section for appendices. So any question? Any question for the last time? Okay, yes, I see thumbs up. Okay, thank you so much. I hope that today's class is informative. This is something that I really like, the soft skills aspects of project management. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
You too.